Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Mundo's Garden. So we're actually out here in the garden. I did some transplanting yesterday, and I noticed something that I had done, being experimental. To be quite honest with you, I wouldn't recommend this. And again, I'm really just doing it to experiment. But I actually had forgotten I did it until I saw it, and then I remembered. So I was actually transplanting tomatoes yesterday, and this is the bed where I'm doing the tomatoes, and I'm spreading them out a little bit. I'm not trying to do like high density, and so what I saw were these potatoes popping up, and then I remembered, right. I put a couple potatoes in with the tomatoes. I didn't have the tomatoes in yet, but the reason I did it was because I wanted to actually see, and I only did it on one side. I only put 2 potatoes in. I actually remember I had 2 left over, and so I was going to put it in where the zucchini bed is going, where originally was going to be zucchinis on part of it and some potatoes or carrots. Not really sure. I kept changing my plans. But so I said, okay, so supposedly potatoes are a little bit, I think, of a heavy feeder from what I've read, and tomatoes are as well. So I decided, well, let's see. I know tomatoes put off lots of roots and everything. It's, as a matter of fact, at the end of the year, if you're actually pulling out the plant, it's massive, right? So I wanted to kind of see what happens if in that mix I have some potatoes. So I just did that just to really see, because originally I was only going to use 4 tomato plants. I ended up putting 6 in, and I think I might put 1 more in, depending on the varieties that I get. The reason I don't know the varieties was because somebody made a hiccup and moved some of my seeds. I actually had them sitting outside of the little bin, but I had them in a particular order. And then somebody accidentally knocked them over and then just putting anything anywhere. So that caused some confusion. So I don't know for sure all of them. I do know that there's a beefsteak in there at least. So that's a good thing. Moving on. And these are my starter plants. So I can tell you what I actually did in a situation like this where there's 2. I try to salvage what I can. And yes, there are some times where I'll kind of let 2 grow at once. When it comes to tomatoes and things like that, I will give them, if they have a little room and they both seem to be growing nicely. Like here, I had 3 on these peppers, but I decided to pull 1 because 1 was a little stinted in growth. So I decided to pull that one so that it didn't further affect the other 2. 2, I think, is enough in 1 cup. And this one was growing with others. And I actually didn't notice it because I wasn't, paying attention to every cup on a daily basis, but I didn't notice it. So it was growing alongside. So the other 2 were actually decent sizes. Those are actually in my garden now, and that was the 3rd one. So I'm hoping that it can survive. And same thing for the 2 large ones. I'm going to end up divvying them up and hoping that they each survive in their own cup. So I'll be probably doing that a little bit later today. But I did want to go ahead and show you the garden. Now, I will note I have done 2 like full asparagus harvests. And just the other day, my parents came over, so I gave them a few asparagus. It was like give or take around 8 or 9 spears, which probably is only, they were large spears. Many of them were large spears, so it should have done them okay for the both of them, but not not a big meal by any means, or big side. But I wanted to show you guys what we got going on here. So these are the potatoes, and honestly speaking, from what I've read, we're getting close to the point where I'm going to need to add some dirt to cover part of this up, and so that it can keep producing underneath. And I'm going to look into it again just to be on the safe side, so that I don't damage the plants. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything correctly. So here we can see I have quite the number of plants. Now, there are some weeds growing in between. Some of those may be plants from last year due to seeds falling, because this little bunch here are all marigolds. Okay, these are marigolds, and I can tell them by these little primary leaves that start coming out. See, like this is definitely marigold right here. So, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think that's coming off of that's probably coming off of that. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 different potato plants. In quite a small section, to be honest with you. But unfortunately, I put this a little too close. And as we can all see, we know this leaf, and that is cilantro, right? So we got some cilantro growing close by. This is a weed. Go ahead and just pull those. So we got some nice cilantro growing in. Unfortunately, it's kind of mixed in with this potato, and that was my mistake. We do have some more cilantro over here, and really one of the biggest reasons why I have some cilantro so close is because I like to plant herbs near my other plants, just as a deterrent for some pests. They don't like the strong odor that a lot of the herbs give off. So looking now to this side, and I do need to put some more herbs in. This is where I pack the potatoes a lot tighter to see how it's going to grow. Now, obviously, they're not super big, as I planted these about a week and a half, I believe, after these. So I think it was a week or a week and a half. So these are packed a lot tighter, and that, again, is a experimental thing that we're doing. Now, there are a lot of weeds, but I'm not too concerned. These are marigolds, and marigolds also, on a side note, are a great repellent or deterrent for many critters, right? So not so much for like the bugs, but good for your deer and rabbits and stuff like that. Just a side note. So yeah, we can see that there's a bunch of them popping up. There's still probably more that still need to come through. I mean, we can see that this one's kind of small. This is kind of young here. And you know, I haven't been weeding as much as I should have. I typically I try to come out and do some weeding at least once to twice a week. And I really have gotten lazy on it. But I want to also show you guys asparagus here. So like I had mentioned, I read that you really shouldn't harvest in your first 2 years or so. Well, this is showing me that harvesting is okay. Now, are some of them a little weak? Yeah, but they're still good eats. And I read somewhere else that it's actually a possibility that it promotes good future growth. So we'll actually have to see on that. For so far, it looks like things have been going just fine. These little guys who look a little weak right now, I just transplanted yesterday as well. These are jalapeno peppers. Those are bell peppers. And then we have another bell pepper here and one more over there that looks super weak. This one was actually really small, but what I highly recommend when transplanting, make sure that you add sufficient water. And I would actually go a little bit overboard just so that the plant, you know, can kind of take in everything to hold on and survive, right? Excuse me, allergies. So these are the radishes, and what I want to actually show you is that you can actually see now a lot of those little heads popping out, right? Right, we got some heads popping all over the place, right? So you can start seeing the tops popping out. See, another weeding situation here that I haven't really gotten to it, and it is a little more difficult, but I had a bad back last week, so that is partially the reason. Clearly we got 2 beets right here, and you probably don't want to. Actually, I have 3, and you're not going to want them that close to each other. So you're going to have to give them some room. So in this case, let me get some of these little weeds out as well. You know, pick the stronger of the 2, and that's going to be the winner. And that happens because I do plant 2 to 3 seeds in every hole. So, and if we see we got, I'll show you another example. You know, go ahead and pull that one. And that one right here. Go ahead and pull that. And there, we're left with 1. Strongest of the 3. And you're going to want to do that successfully, you know, successively throughout the process. You want to go ahead and make sure that you're, you know, not, you know, obviously if you have a bad back, things happen, as is what happened to me. But you know, when you can stay on top of it, try to, because that is what's going to be most beneficial to your plants, and that way you can have the best chances possible at luck with your harvest. So I am probably going to continue with the weeding, but one last thing that I did want to show you guys, my cucumbers haven't started coming out yet, but my wife she had the zucchini plants over there where I've showed you close to the beans, but she had 2 in one place, 2 in one place, 2 in one place, and there was 3 extra plants. So instead of using from what I had started, because hers are further along, I went ahead and just pulled, and just kind of like what I did here where I was thinning them, I did the same thing. And if you get a decent amount of roots, I said, okay, I'm going to give those the opportunity to actually survive. So I planted them deep enough, and I'm going to make sure that I provide enough water to where it can sustain itself. But I mean, right now, I mean, they look super healthy. They look really good. And there they are. So that's what I did. And we'll go ahead and catch up next time, guys. This video went on a little longer than I expected and anticipated. But thanks a lot, guys, for watching. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Hit the thumbs up if you guys like gardening. So we'll see you next time here on Mundo's Garden. Happy gardening.